Okay, folks. So uh, I got a text message from somebody who had 7 questions or 7 points to make about the video I did called "Those Pesky Little Relapses," and so I'm gonna hit these one at a time. This is kind of what I was asking for to engage in some kind of dialogue. Now that being said, I mean, really, I'm gonna hit up these 7 things because I like them. But I mean, I guess just in the thought of relapse, I mean, it can go all day and all night, and really nothing else. So, uh, but the first thing that was said is, "What is your motive for making these videos?" I mean, that was in that introduction one that I did. It's maybe somebody gets some benefit out of this. Me just by doing it, you know, uh, it's kind of like I'm telling myself what I need to know. Maybe it answers a question for somebody else who hasn't asked it yet, or it's just been on their mind. Um, I don't know. People have said that I should do something like this. They didn't tell me how. They just said I should do something like this, and so I'm wingdinging it. Uh, but I stay in the solution, I imagine, and just kind of like point out some stuff that I picked up along the way. Uh, Say two, you can't keep anyone sober, only God can. Very true. You know, I've learned that from experience. Um, the Big Book says repeatedly that that's the case, especially in the chapter working with others. Um, but I can't keep anybody sober. But I can at least put thoughts into their head, which might get them to change their mind. Some examples is whenever I was working with newcomers, I would tell them that every single day when you wake up while your coffee's brewing, text or phone call 5 people in the program at random. Pick 5. Try not to make them the same people over and over again. Uh, and wish them a wonderful day and ask them how they're doing. And this can be really done at any point of the day, but it's like start their day off in a positive note. And by and large, if they don't get a response like a text message back or nobody picks up the phone, voicemails don't count, right? So you got to actually engage with somebody in the program, 5 different people that you know you may actually be calling somebody who has a gun in one hand and a shot glass in the other and is trying to decide which one are they going to take, and it would be an interruption of that. um, maybe they didn't think anybody cared, and then somebody at random just called them, right at the moment. So I would imagine that that's God using that person to step in, right? Because the majority of people say, well, yeah, man, I'm not aware that God is right here, but I can hear God in other people's shares and meetings, in their actions. I can see God everywhere because God is everywhere I look. And, so that may not keep that person sober, but it may keep them alive. And, you know, being alive and drunk is a lot better than being dead. And, because at least, they have a chance. Uh, Now, this one kind of got me my attention. It says, "Seems to me that I'm justifying relapses." Well, if that's the case, that wasn't my intent. But I would imagine that the justifying relapse really comes on page 31 that says, "We don't like to pronounce any individual as alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest barroom and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It will not take you long for you to decide if you are honest with yourself about it. It may be worth a bad case of jitters to get full knowledge of your condition." I imagine at any point when working the steps, you know, that you can do this little experiment to find out for yourself. You know, how many people do the 1, 2, 3 boogie? You know, how many people have 20, 30, 40, 50 years sobriety and then say, you know what, I've been sober for a long time. I got this. Certainly I've learned a bunch during this time. And then they go and they get loaded. Uh, is it because um, they're trying to justify a relapse, or are they trying to just make sure that they're an alcoholic? That I don't know. I don't think I'm justifying anything. I would say it's the norm for people to go back out, especially lately. A lot of dear friends of mine uh, that I know had time, that I know worked a solid program. I know because they worked to help me, and and now they went back into the ball game, and you know, so I'm not trying to justify a relapse. It is a reality. It was my reality. It was my experience because I've done it, and my late wife Jeannie, you know, she relapsed and never came back in, and I'm not trying to justify it, but I'm also not going to pretend that they don't happen. And I think what I was trying to do with this message was say, if you relapse, quit beating yourself up. Come back home. And, you know, and if you learn something from it, because I ask that of everybody who does relapse, did you learn anything? Usually I get the generic answer, well, I learned I can't drink again. I learned I'm an alcoholic. Really? That's all you got out of it? Which is good stuff. Don't get me wrong. That's some good stuff. I mean, it's good to know what the problem is so you can work on the solution to the problem. But I've heard a lot of people say that they've had almost spiritual type experiences. Not because of the drugs and alcohol, but because of the experiences while in it. And, those people are still sober. So, really, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess everybody's different. Justifying it, if you want to go get drunk, man. I ain't going to stop you. If you want to stay sober and you're like on the fence, before you take that first drink, I'll do everything I can to help. And I guess that falls under number 2, that I can't keep anybody sober, only God can. So, I really just try to help them tap into this God within them. But if I need to, I'll buy your first round. If that's what it takes. I've heard people say, well, why don't we just go and empty your bank account and buy booze? Let's get enough to really kill you. And so, I mean, this is serious stuff to me. And so, yeah, man, do what you got to do. And number 4, AA is not for everyone. AA is not the ultimate authority on alcoholism. That is true on both parts. It's not for everyone. Some people, will never get it. Some people don't like the way it's done. Hell, man, I mean, there's people that go to church and they walk in the door, and then they never drink again. I'm not one of those guys. Some people have a wife that says, if you ever drink again, I'm leaving you and I'm taking the kids. And that gets them sober. I ain't one of them guys either. I mean, I got 2 divorces and I'm a widower, on the 3rd one. So, for me, AA works. So that's why I'm addressing the stuff as it relates to AA, because this is what I've learned in the program. And you got to consider, since the invention of the grape, if you were the town drunk, you died the town drunk. In 1935, when Bill and Bob got together, something changed, something magical. I would imagine it's a divine type of thing. And, and from that, you have other groups that came out, NA, Narcotics Anonymous, CA, Cocaine Anonymous, Smokers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous. There's all these different type of programs which really, are spokes on the wheel of recovery, no matter what your addiction is. Gamblers Anonymous. So it's not the ultimate authority on alcoholism, but I would imagine that's the first one that consistently worked for the most amount of people for the longest amount of time. It's got a track record. So I value that. And number 5, you don't get bonus time in AA. You relapse, you start over because you never got step 1 right, or whatever program you were working led you to go back out. Well, I mean, you don't get bonus time in AA. I don't know, if you relapsed and you managed to survive it, well, bonus time. If you relapse, you start over. Well, yeah, you start over. You get another desire chip, you begin the steps again, and you keep moving forward. And you don't say, well, yeah, I mean, like with me, I got sober. I had the honest desire to get sober June 19th of 2015. I dropped the ball a couple times along the way. I had some one-night stands with some booze. And, prior to that, I mean, my first AA meeting was in December of 1994 at the original Bel Air Club. It ain't there no more. And, I don't count those days. I mean, shit. I mean, there were years separating that, 21 years. And even when I had those one-night stands, I didn't say, well, I got, 3 years, 8 months, 26 days, sober, 1 day drunk, and so now I'm moving on and continuing in 3 years. No, I started over. But what I was getting at about my point is I didn't lose that knowledge, right? Those experiences, that I can't say I was drunk all those days, and they don't count for nothing. That's going to be more of a I'm beating myself up kind of thing, right? I had 3 years, 8 months, 26 days sober before I had a one-night stand with booze. That counts for something, right? If I beat myself up for every mistake that I do, I'll be back on boo. So instead, I will say, yeah, I had that, and then the next day, I'm on day 1. Clearly I missed something. Clearly I dropped the ball somewhere, and I want to dig deep to find out what it was so that I don't repeat that action. When I'm riding a bike as a kid and I fall off the bike and skin my knee, I don't say, fuck this bicycle shit. No, I get back on. And then I'm going to bust my knee again. Then I'm going to get back on and bust my knee again. I'm going to keep doing it until I can get it right. And by right, I mean, don't fall off the bike. But years will go by. I'm going to try to hot rod it a little bit, and I'm going to do some kind of jump or something that, do something that I probably shouldn't. And we'll fall and skin my knee again. I'm still going to get back on the bike. So really, I'm not justifying the relapse, nor am I looking for the bonus time or, saying that anything like that. It's just get back on the bike. Keep going. Number 6, the message of AA is in our literature. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I got a book that's got coffee stains in it, a couple burn marks, ink on damn near every single page. The pages, some of them have fallen out of the book, because I dig deep into this thing. And they say a book that's falling apart is usually owned by somebody who's not, which is valuable information. A lot of this, when it talks about the well-known stages of the spree and more about alcoholism, spirituality needs to grow. It says all went well for a time, but he failed to enlarge his spiritual life. That's the purpose of this, I guess, is to let people know that, there's many ways to read the book. Yeah, it's in black and white, but you and me, we can look at the same thing, read the same sentence out loud, but, my litmus test is I'm running it up against my past experiences, my traumas, my successes, my failures, and everything else, so we can read the same sentence, and that's what I'm going into it with, and you're going into it with your stuff. And at some point, we got to find a happy middle ground so we can communicate. I chose this as my milieu, which goes back to what is the motive for making these videos? To just try to, answer questions, be helpful. And then finally, anonymity is true humility. With me, I spent my entire life running from myself. I felt ashamed of myself, guilty, fears, and so on and so forth. And really, I didn't want people to not like me. And so I would go out of my way to try to be somebody I wasn't. But, man, basically everybody's hanging out with a liar. They don't like a liar. Uh, and But I was anonymous because you didn't know who I was. Was I humble? Absolutely not. In fact, I was more full of myself than anything else. When I got sober, like I said, I ain't got 9 years. Wait, is that right? 8 years. I ain't got 8 years. Uh, I wish I did, but I don't. But you know, during that time, if I was anonymous, then the people that I've helped along the way who are not in the program, but helped them find the program, they would have never known that they could talk to me. Because I ain't talking about it. You know, the people that are in the program, if I didn't tell them who I was, then they would never know that they're not alone, that they somebody that they can relate to. I spent my whole life in fear. I'm done with that shit. It hasn't served me any purpose. It was a coping mechanism that coped with nothing, a defense mechanism that defended nothing. And yet I held on to it for 41 years. I'm not anonymous. That's my choice. I want people to be able to find me. I also want to be accountable. As for humility, yeah, I mean, I try to be as humble as I can. I don't do this for fame and glory and riches. I mean, really, I just want to be helpful. And you know, and I've said before, and I'll say it again. I don't lead by example. I serve by example. People have asked me, why don't you join the board at the meeting house? Like, no, I don't want to get involved in that crap. I'm a grunt. I stay in the trenches. I like to work with people that are hurting, and let them know that there is a solution. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, if I'm being humble or not. I guess it's a matter of perspective. But so those are my thoughts on these. So that'll give you an idea of what it is that I'm looking for, and a general response. So thank you so much, Joe, for contributing. And it's funny that this video actually lasted longer than the original video, almost double. But yeah, so again, I just hope this helps somebody. And keep them coming. I want to learn more. And well, that's it. God bless you.